grandmother, and I live on the Gregor Lake Reserve, which is right on Gregor Lake, and it's I'm with the Fort McMurray First Nation. And what I was really hoping to do was to have time to show you our video called "There's No Such Thing as a Dry Muskeg," that documents the words of our elders from our First Nation. And I really urge you to watch it because all of their knowledge, instead of me telling you what is on the video, I'd rather you saw it for yourself. Maybe. Just to start out, I wanted to bring your attention to the Keepers of the Water, which I was involved in the very beginning of the Keepers of the Athabasca Watershed Council, which does awareness raising about water issues throughout the province, in particular with our watershed. Now, our Athabasca River watershed, it's a huge river, and it goes all the way up to Lake Athabasca, northeast Alberta. And it actually starts at the glacier in the Rocky Mountains. And we were there in 2008, right at the very headwaters of the Athabasca River. It's an amazingly powerful place to be. They have markers on the glacier which says the glacier was at this level in 1950. And if you look back, it was a long, long ways when it was, that was where the glacier was, and it's receding, and we all know this. The glaciers are receding. I don't know what this means for a long-term impact on our river, but right now the impacts are huge. The uses of the river by industry is enormous right now, and this is what we're facing right now. What is happening with that river? Our First Nation is a small reserve. We get our water from the Athabasca River. We used to get it from our Gregor Lake, which is right by the reserve. But we can't drink that water anymore. I drank it as a child, but we cannot drink it anymore. The water is polluted. Apparently the fish, from what people tell us, the fish don't taste so good anymore. And they're also worried about the content of what is in the fish that can harm us. And so these kinds of things are very much part of concerns of our First Nations and our elders in our community. We do have some elders that are still using the land. We still have some trappers and people that go out there, but they're finding out they have to go a long ways to get moose. They have to go a long ways to get fish, because we can't even fish in our lake right now, which is a shame. It's a tragedy, actually. So what I want to also mention is that this river, this watershed that we reside in, it's part of a greater watershed. It's part of the Arctic Ocean drainage basin, which is enormous. It's huge. It's part of most of Alberta, going up, taking in all the northern provinces and territories, going out to the Arctic Ocean. I was speaking to a good friend of mine, Dene, from the Dene Nation, who suggested that all the water that we are having, that we live with and so on, it all flows north, and eventually it goes into the Arctic, and it even may go as far as the northern Asian and European countries, Russia and so on. So I think what he was trying to tell us is that this water connects us. We're all connected through the water, and this is what our people say, our elders, our traditional people. They tell us how important the water is, and it's a sacred thing. It's not a commodity. It's not a resource. It is our life. And so what we have to do is come together today to protect this water. And how do we do that? There's many ways we can look at in which to do it. I'd like to take the example of Keepers of the Water, other movements, other organizations that involve the larger public. Because what I see right now is that we are in a media war with the government of Canada and the government of Alberta. We see a Tory government in Canada. We see a Tory government in Alberta. What they are doing is working together to diminish the rights of our First Nations. And how do they do this? They do this through various things. They do it through the laws. We've got the Bill C-45 at the national level, diminishing all the rivers, protection of all the waters and waterways and so on. And then we see provincial laws being passed saying, oh, you don't have to consult with the First Nations anymore. You know, we agree that you can talk to them and so on, but it's not the law that you have to do that. This is how we're interpreting the new guidelines or that are coming out with the consultation provincial guidelines. And so what we see is these different governments combining their powers in order to keep us from looking after the land, basically. In the past, our people were told, what did the treaty say? As long as the rivers flow, as long as the grass grows and the sun shines. Now that is a long, long time. They really knew what they were doing when they said those words. And that became the basis for our treaties. So right now, though, some of these waters are being diverted, some of the flow is getting less. There's a lot of things that are going on that we're all concerned with. So I want you to bring your attention to two global movements. First one is the Occupy movement. The Occupy movement started out maybe 200 people in front of Wall Street. It grew and grew and grew. It became a global movement. People uniting to say, we do not want any more of the injustice that is out there, especially with big money, big business, and so on. And people that never had any political dealings of any sort at all, they came together in unity with these other people around the globe. And some of them are people, you know, who are not poor, and some of them are some of the poorest people coming together, uniting in their movement to say no more. And the other one is Idle No More. Now, Idle No More is very interesting. Like, I remember in 1969 when the Chrétien government came out and said, okay, we got this new white paper policy, there's going to be no more Indian Act. People were enraged, people were angry. They said, no, this cannot happen, because, you know, what rights we've got as First Nations are in those pieces of paper. If those pieces of paper are gone, what have we got right now that ties us with the government of Canada? And so today, we have people a lot of young people that were very much involved in the Isle No More, because even though they did not understand or even know what those acts were that were being passed, they just understood there was something wrong here. We understand that there's something wrong that we have to do something about, and people are galvanized into action. They get together. I don't think that this is it's dying out. It's like those people in 1969, some of them are still around, myself included, and we're still here, still working, still fighting, and still saying, no, there's certain things we have to do. How do we do it? One thing is unity. So this is really my big message here. It's called unity. And we have different elements going on here. We've got academia, people with traditional knowledge. People with traditional knowledge, maybe none of them went to school. You know, some elders around that, maybe grade 2, 3, or whatever, right? But really, when you look at in terms of knowledge and experience, they are PhDs in their own communities. because they have the knowledge and the wisdom of the experience and practical, the going out on the land and so on. I just want to show you something here. This here is rat root. This grows in water. I was given to this to me by a friend, hadn't seen for a while, and handed this to me. And I was like, wow. And I was going to mention the rat root today. And this was handed to me. Rat root grows in the lakes, by the shores and streams and so on. It's one of the most important medicines that we have in our area. First Nations, Cree people, and all the northern people use this. And I just thought it was a beautiful thing that, it reminded me again of what we're doing here. This is a medicine. Water is a medicine to us. So this is how we see water. Our elders used to pray over the water, ask for help. People go to places like Lac St. Anne every year. Lac St. Anne it has its roots in a traditional healing place. It's a traditional healing place, and there are these healing places all over. And another really important one too to bring your attention to is the one in the Northwest Territories. I'm not sure of the exact location. It's called the Old Lady of the Falls. And the Old Lady of the Falls, you know about it, is a healing place. That's great. I've heard lots about it. Myself have not been there, but my family members have been there. And it's where you go to get healed. It is a falls, and you hear a lot about things like the negative ions and so on. And no matter how much you talk and use all these scientific terms and so on, there's still like the knowledge in there that our people have. Our elders, some of our youth are learning it, and I can't stress enough that we have to get this information out to our youth. The teachings have to go out to them, because as each elder dies, what is going with that elder? There's a lot that's going away when that person is gone. So it's best to keep sharing this. And then the other thing too is also about, science, traditional knowledge. We can do that. The scientists in the past, the anthropologists and so on, they've gotten a bad name because they come into our communities, take our information, write it in a thesis, and they're finished, right? Whereas our people, this is their knowledge, their culture, it belongs to us. But it's something that we've also shared with other people too, if it's going to do good in the world. So basically, we have to share things that are going to help us and unite us. So the other thing that I just wanted to stress was this whole thing about unity, is that Occupy united people of all classes and races and so on. Idle no more. It united all the indigenous people around the world. We had people in Maori people in New Zealand having their Idle No More gatherings. We had in the United States, London, Australia. These are just a few. Paris even had its own Idle No More event that happened. It's amazing. It was beautiful. So what I'm trying to say is, even though, maybe we're not having an Idle No More down in West Edmonton Mall tomorrow, but it's still there inside of us. It's still there. It's never died, and it won't die, because it's something that we carry. And that's something that will be passed on to our children and our grandchildren. So no matter what the governments of the world do, which are the federal and provincial governments that we're faced with, I mentioned the word media war. They have control of the media, because that's whose faces you see on the media. Yes, we have APTN, but maybe not enough people see it. But we're faced with that. We're faced with a very powerful group that is, trying to control people's way of thinking. So we have to bring our way of thinking out there. And how do you do this? We have to get our allies, and we do have allies. The water initiative here is something that's good, that we can work with them. The TSAG people here in Edmonton that work with water, infrastructure across the province. I mean, all those things help. Anything that brings us together to work on common solutions is great. So I just want to share here a poem. I wasn't at this workshop, but this came out of the people who attended this workshop. It's by Waterlution, and I acknowledge their work for what they're doing to bring people together and work on water issues. And this comes from the 7 Aboriginal principles. Be like water. Courage. Listen and speak from the heart. Have the courage to believe in. Protect yourself in the water that gives you life. Respect the water spirit. This includes, our water spirits, our thunder beings, dealing with the thunder and the lightning. And fire, earth, and wind, or they will respond through flooding and natural disasters. Humility. Water is sacred. 9 months in our mother's womb connects us to the sacred waters of life and our Creator. Truth. Truth is fluid. It adapts to its environment while shaping the world around it. It absorbs its surrounding while depositing its contents everywhere it goes. It refracts and reflects the light so that no two truths ever see the same thing the same exact way. Honesty. We are water, not above it. We must be honest about how we have changed it, because we cannot separate ourselves from it. Love. Water is a source of power for healing on our journey to love and finding a knowing relationship with ourselves and each other. Wisdom. Let me wake every day with gratitude that I may leave a path of wisdom for the children to follow. Today it hurts to be water. Together, let's make tomorrow different. So this is this group here. I've got a contact here for the things that these people are doing, and also what other groups are doing. I just wanted to bring this out to you. So here it is, Waterlution. Write to info@waterlution.org. We've got Keepers of the Athabasca Watershed Council. Here are their contacts here. Yes, Lee?
I'd like to just tell everybody that Cleo and the rest of the water board there on the Athabasca thing have put together a fabulous library in their website of all the scientific information. So if you go to Keepers of the Water and go to the library page, it's all there. There's videos, there's all the scientific reports, everything. And when people are asking me questions on Facebook, I give them that whole file as a reference library because it's all in one place. So,
yes, thank you. There, I don't have to say it. She said it. So this one here, this Occupy Love, the Velcro Ripper is the director of this film, and it's a full-length feature documentary, and it's being shown around the world. And basically, he's gone to the ground zeros around the world to try to find out what kind of hope can come out of this ground zero. And when I was in Fort Chip in 2008, 9, the Keepers of the Water gathering was held there, and I mentioned that we are here on ground zero of the water pollution problems in northern Alberta due to industry, because that is where the full impact of the water of the pollution that went downstream, it concentrated itself there in Lake Athabasca, where people have traditionally fished for hundreds and hundreds or thousands of years. And what's going on with that now? It's That's the concern. The strange cancers that kind of erupted, scientists say it's not definitive. We cannot say that the water caused that, the toxins in the water and so on. The people say, yes, that's where it's coming from. So you've got, two different ways of looking at it. We have to work together with both science, technology, and with traditional knowledge. So, what I want to bring you back to this here, with the film called Occupy Love. He's taken the Occupy movement, which started out in Wall Street and then turned into a bigger movement, which involves climate change justice and that sort of thing, environmental justice as well. He came out to our first healing walk. This Velcro came out to our very first healing walk, which we held in 3-4 years ago now. This is our 4th year going on. The healing walk, which is at the tar sands. And the tar sands, it was a way of us saying, what can we do about the situation? We can't stop. Syncrude and Suncor are there. All those other developments, industrial, all the developments, whether it's conventional mining or SAGD, which is steam-assisted gravity drainage, which is in our community. It's right next door to us and 15 kilometers away. What can we do about this? Because it's already there. We can't stop it. It's there. It's gonna do something. It's doing something to the air already. We could breathe it. We could smell it. We know it's in the water. But what do? You can't change it. You can't just say, we're gonna get rid of it right now. We can't do that. It's there. And then you've got the pieces of paper that says we have agreements to be on this land for 40 years. And basically that's what we're looking at, 40, 50 years. So, one of the great things that change people or help people, it's really in your mind. It's how you use your mind and your thoughts. It's like praying over the water. It impacts that water. Praying over the land is another thing. The director of the film, he came to our first healing walk and he did lots of interviews and so on, and it's beautiful. It's actually, you can download it on the internet. And so we're one of the ground zeros that he talked about, the tar sands and what goes on with people and with the community and with the animals. We had a traditional elder that came to our very first healing walk, and that was Jerry Saddleback, and he was here earlier, and I don't know where he went, but he was here. He was there on our very first healing walk. We got together just past Suncor, if anybody knows the area of northern Alberta, on Highway 63, considered the most deadly highway in Canada now. But just north of there, and between Suncor and Syncrude, two of the biggest giants in mining up there in tar sands, and like the land is all impacted. You look around and it's flat. You see the toxic ponds, and there's like protection all around it. And when the wind blows, you're breathing in this dust and so on. And so what we said was, how do we bring attention? What can we do? But in a non-violent way, because we do not want to end up going to jail and that sort of thing. So we said, we're just going to walk. We're going to walk on the land. And this is traditionally what our people used to do. I talked to my mother when she's 85, and she said she was a child. We never even used horses. Some people did, but there weren't that much. We never had cars because there were no roads. She said, we just walked. They had their families, and they walked to maybe their hunting or berry gathering places or medicine gathering places or so on. And it would take maybe 2 or 3 days to walk there, but that's okay. When they were tired, they would sit down and put up their tent or whatever and rest and, you know, hunt and maybe gather something around there and eat their food, and then the next day they'd go on to their next location, wherever they're heading. So it just sounded like such a peaceful way, you know, of living. Of course, we can't live that way anymore. So when we go walking on the land, we might be breaking a law. You know, we might be having somebody from the oil companies come out and say, you're on my lease property right now, you're not allowed to be there. And this is where she used to pick berries when she was a kid. You know, so this does not, you cannot do things like that. So what we did was we took the highway and we said, we're gonna walk on the highway. And we did that. And we walked a 13-kilometer stretch simply because the police will not let you walk along with the traffic flow. You have to walk against it. So how we did is we walked in a loop. There's a big loop that goes around, like just north of Suncor, and it goes around Syncrude, and like I said, those are the two oldest and biggest of the mining companies, and the oldest. And it goes around in a loop, so we'd be walking against the traffic, so we came through. And we had police escort and everything. They were actually they cooperated with us quite well. We have a lot of our walkers here. Do you want to put up your hands? Our walkers, we have a bunch of walkers. Come on. Some of them I saw have gone, but that was our way of saying, let's reclaim what is ours. You know, we know this road was built by the provincial government. That's okay. It's still on our traditional, you know, territory. It's somebody's traditional territory. Wherever you go, doesn't matter where, even downtown Edmonton, you're still on somebody's traditional territory. So that's what we did, and like I said, we had maybe over 200 people the first year. It's growing. This is our 4th year. And we've had international attention on this, and it's still growing. So this year it's going to be held July the 5th and 6th. And just before that, we're going to have the Keepers of the Water Conference. And we're hosting it at my community, Fort McMurray First Nation, Gregory Lake Reserve. And we have a beach, we call it Indian Beach. and that's sort of where everybody gathers, because there is a place where, you know, we can have speaking and so on. It's right by the lake. And hopefully this year you might even be able to swim in it, because sometimes it gets, you know, safe enough to swim in. So with that, I did want to mention a little bit about the consultation aspect of what is coming up between the governments. The federal government, with its C-45 that impacts the waterways, the environmental laws that they're bringing in, is seen as a direct way of allowing Gateway Pipeline to come through. You know, clear out, get rid of the First Nations, you know, saying, well, we got to protect this and this and this. Clear that out of the way, and you can put that pipeline straight through without any, you know, going through a lot of legal battles. So that's seen as that kind of thing. And then when the provincial government comes in with their laws saying, you don't have to consult, you know, you can do this, but you don't have to do that, leaving the law kind of open to a lot of interpretation here. These things are things that we have to deal with every day. I know we had the lawyer up here speaking, which he did shed some light on some of what the legal ramifications are and so on. But we need to, you know, we've been told, or I've been told, but I do understand it, lawyers are a necessary evil. We need them to interpret those laws, because how can we sit down and try to read a legal document, you know, without, tearing out our hair or something. It's just too hard. It's difficult. I just want to bring in a little anecdote here. I was here in this university in 1969 when the Black Panthers came. And the Black Panthers met with us. We're a bunch of radical youth, Native youth. And they were meeting with some of the academics in the university. And we sat down with them, and the one, I don't know who he was, but he was like a PhD or whatever, professor in some one of the disciplines, and he started talking, and the head guy, the leader he was the Black Panther leader of the Black Panther Party chapter in Illinois. Chicago, Illinois. And he said, just hold it right there. He said, just let me grab my dictionary. Okay, now can you start? So to me, it just shows the disconnect between academia or science and, grassroots people. So I just thought I'd just bring that up because we do not need that anymore. We can actually sit down and talk and understand one another. It has to come from mutual respect. So we need the mutual respect from academia and the scientific world with our PhD elders and our knowledge carriers, whoever they may be. Some of them are young because they've been taught at a young age. And with respect on both sides, and this is how we can approach it. They're not coming in saying, this is what you need to do, we're going to teach you, it's basically how can we learn together. And so, and that's the other thing about the Occupy Love film I was telling you about, was that it's seen as a message of hope, even though you call them the ground zeros of the world, there's still hope that change can happen, and it can happen in a peaceful way. So basically that is my main message. I know there are probably some other things, but I really would like you to see and listen to the words of our elders and talking about one of the most important, parts of our ecosystem, and that's the muskeg. Muskeg, which thrives on water. My mother said, when we were children, when we were traveling, we needed a drink of water. She said we would dig in the muskeg and the water would come up. And she said the water would settle and it becomes clear, and that's what you drank. And with that, I would like to say thank you for listening to me, and I'm very happy to be here. Bye-bye.